Good evening and welcome once again to Tinker, Tailor, Solder, Fry, the Let's Try program here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. Joining me today is Cameron. We got Paul on tech.
Hello.
And Alex will be with us shortly, so in his place we have left a seat open for what counts for Elijah in the ZOIDS universe, I guess. But yeah, just want to say before we get started here that you are the reason that we are able to do these sorts of programs here at Loading Ready Run. So thanks so much to those of you at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun for your generous donations, and of course, those of you subbing on YouTube, and of course, at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, where right now we're broadcasting. Check it out sometime. Cameron, welcome to the program. We're on hobby night tonight.
Yeah, just free form, open play. I will be building the free miniature from Games Workshop. I think last month was an Arbite, or excuse me, the Adeptus Arbites. They've finally told us how to pronounce it.
Right in the Arbites, eh?
Yeah, the not Judge Dreads of the setting.
Again,
they're absolutely not Judge Dredd.
We were talking about before the program about the history of Warhammer, and Judge Dredd, absolutely another one of those 82,000 properties that they pulled specifically from.
Yeah, they're like, you know what's cool? What I'm reading right now? Judge Dredd. Let's put those in 40K.
Big shoulders, turbo cops, yes please.
Yeah. And they brought them back, and they're mainly in Kill Team, but you know, there's a 40K data sheet for them if you feel like getting your space cops killed by tanks.
I mean, who doesn't?
Who doesn't, really?
Of course, in the 40K universe, Judge Dredd would be considered very soft on crime.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, like,
squishy almost.
Even in the comics, isn't he kind of like... He's more pragmatic than the other judges, isn't he?
I believe he's the one good cop for values of good.
Yeah.
In that respect. I do know that he goes against the system every now and then, but I'm not sure how much. I'm not a big Judge Dredd.
Me neither.
Head.
But man, Dredd ruled.
Oh yeah. Even the Stallone wasn't bad.
Really, I never saw the Stallone one.
He fits the character very well.
Okay. I just really would love to know what the difference in character is, because both of the film adaptations have been American, whereas Judge Dredd is, like the comics I understand, are profoundly British.
Yeah.
In fact, I have seen 2000 AD, which is the comic that it's being compared to Warhammer in a lot of ways. That it's sort of the same kind of came around the same time and has the same kind of like extreme, like, you know, the Judge Dredd universe is kind of like the Warhammer universe in that it's sort of extreme to the point of parody in some ways.
Like, the vibe is extremely bad and is getting worse.
Yeah.
My dudes, the vibe is continuing to deteriorate.
We've achieved peak vibe, and now it's just a slow descent. I'm going to continue on with the Sturm Tyrann Zoid build. A build that has runners so vast that they go beyond the English alphabet and into the Japanese katakana.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember reading in, what was it, Rendezvous with Rama, where they had talked about the fact that NASA, or the various world space agencies, had run through the English alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, and were now into Indian alphabet.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it was called Rama.
Sensible.
Yeah.
Dang, I need to read that book, really do.
It's okay. It's extremely, like, dude in the 60s writing about how awesome it's going to be in space.
Yeah, but I do enjoy the pageantry. It's kind of like old commercial flight.
Yeah, okay.
Or the romance of the rail at that point.
Do you have a picture of? Does the box have a picture of what your guy is supposed to look like, Cam?
Oh no, it's just a And then it has a number on the side. I don't know what that is.
Handwritten, too.
Yeah, somebody had to scribe this out. I have no idea what this is.
Is that the precise catalog number of that model?
Well, I mean, it's 994. No, it's not even the barcode. Because there's a barcode here.
I'd have to guess that it might be akin to a serial number of what is inside it.
Yeah.
This is the Armites, and then it just gets scanned as free model of whatever.
Probably, yeah.
But you'd think they'd automate the spraying of that number onto there rather than hand.
From what little I know of Games Workshop, they don't really value the time of their staff that much.
Oh no. Good to know, though. Where did I leave off? I really need to start making notes about where I am in this. I think we're just about done with the bust. Yes, just about done with the bust. And then we'll be moving on to the tail section afterwards. Right.
Ian,
Yes, Paul.
if you are going to be doing a lot of looking down, perhaps you can move your
I
mic to
think
the
I know
side a
what
little
your
bit.
Request is going to be. There we go. How's that?
That's better.
Good, good. Yeah, no, there's going to be a good amount of looking down. All right, so okay, good. We've got the rotors on the legs, and they can go up and down. Good. Articulation maintained. And then we've got, yep, you have the arm nubs. So we've got past 24, I think, or have we finished completely? Yeah, we got 24 done. We got the neck pieces, so it can bend again. More articulation. Whoa!
Whoa.
Don't worry, that's supposed to happen.
What did you do?
The alien inner mouth effect, I guess.
We should tell chat what step you are on at the end of this stream, and then leave it to them to remember.
Yes, I'm sure they won't. I'm sure that won't backfire in any way.
I saw a great Tumblr post that was just the chest burster from Alien with a speech bubble saying, I'm actually a minor.
Wow.
Or I'm literally a minor.
Where did that meme come from?
I don't want to know, really. Tumblr, I think.
That would track. Okay, right. Yes, we got the orb installed yesterday, a fortnight ago. A fortnight ago, yes.
We have pondered the orb. We have installed the orb.
The orb had a little key in it too to make sure it was installed correctly.
Ooh,
Yeah.
thoughtful design.
Yeah.
That's in case you want to do any orb pondering while you're on the road in your Zoid. Also, it needs the thing to open up and reveal so that it can have a weak spot while you're fighting it.
Okay, I think what we were doing here is that we were attempting to build the tail. Yes, that's it. We had these 3 pieces already put together and ready to go. There we go. And we've got, the end of the tail piece. Perfect. Step 34 is where we're at. And we're onto our V runners, which are completely gone.
Are they indeed V runners? And not like, I don't know, a carrot or a accented something?
We got to that point. Cameron, which runner would you say that is?
H is wrong. Anti-H?
Yeah,
It's hollow.
H is incorrect. I is also incorrect.
So this is, I assume, a katakana character.
Yep, A.
A? Mm-hmm. Well, I stand corrected.
Yeah, that one ruined my day 3 weeks ago.
There are a lot of characters in Japanese. Like, katakana has a lot of characters in it. much more than English.
Yeah, there's actual H. H is the ABS sprue.
You think that they could choose ones that don't overlap?
Yeah,
with-
that don't have a strong.
Yeah.
Well, the irony, too, is that katakana is the alphabet that's used specifically for foreign words. So it makes sense for it to be mixed in with the Romanji. But I just found out that there was, up until earlier this week, a society in Japan dedicated to the abolishing of Japanese characters and replacing them with Roman characters.
Really?
Yeah, it was formed back in I think it was 1918, and they just promoted the use of English characters for everything in replacement for both kanji and the kanas.
Did you say they existed up until last week?
Yep. Yeah, last week they
What happened?
What happened?
they ran out of money and decided, you know what?
We're not making traction.
Yeah, we're not actually going to get this happening. I mean,
Everything's fine.
I appreciate their persistence up to this point, but
Was it mainly an academic exercise, or?
no, they were absolutely promoting the use of it and the replacement.
Huh.
I remember reading a quite interesting article a while ago about, the early days of the computer and how much of a problem the Japanese character system, like how much of an advantage the small number of characters in the Latin alphabet was for early things. There were early attempts at making a Japanese keyboard were extremely difficult and quite fraught, and so the Japanese companies actually were having a lot of problems with productivity. That like American or North American and English companies were able to outperform, be more productive because they could type faster, and they could use and then when they finally got stuff, and of course Japanese characters have to be stored in 2 bytes as opposed to 1 byte. So if you're working on a computer with 8K of memory and everything takes up twice as much space, it's actually kind of a big deal.
Yep. I remember back in the early 90s having to deal with character encoding on my Japanese MP3s. You had to make sure to tick the right box, otherwise all of your music tags are just completely unintelligible. But yeah, that was part of the reasoning behind it. Was that it was not only easy, efficient in the way of writing and being able to type things out, but easier to learn because there are fewer, homophones due to kanji. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 6. But on the other hand, the University of British Columbia just updated their official font to include the necessary English phonetic characters to be able to properly write the names of the indigenous
Nice.
names that they have for their various locations
Okay,
and
good.
signage.
Good.
Yeah. I'm always in favor of that.
So like they actually had they actually had like a custom crafted font.
Yeah, their official font is God. It's just it's a standard female name, but they've extended it now to those characters.
Rebecca.
Kind of like that. But yeah, apparently up to that point, any signage that they'd been making that included
I guess it wouldn't be Salish. It would be there's 3 First Nations in Vancouver. Brain. Why can't I remember a single one of them? I'm so bad at this. Anywho.
yeah. This is why we have the people to look up a research team here in the chat. But yeah, up to that point, any of them had just been custom work by designers and sign makers.
Or I thought you were going to say the
Arclight's got it in the chat. Whitney is the name of it.
the standard thing for like for usually like in Unicode, if a particular glyph is not available, it'll just drop in another replacement where it is. So you end up with like nice font, and then this like Arial chunk, something to get like in order to get that particular character, it has to swap to a different font.
It used to be, yeah, and they were saying that whenever they do that, it was quite.
And so it'll have completely different leading and X
Yeah,
height.
and it felt like it was always instead of being a piece where we're actually trying to communicate these names, it felt like it was an afterthought, and
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's better always than the option which is reverting to the little Unicode squares. And
Yeah, printing the Unicode squares on a sign is a bad, or the little like question mark in a diamond.
Yeah. Well, you know why Google's Noto font is called Noto, right?
No.
Because they used to call the blocks of non-Unicode characters tofu. And so they wanted to include all characters of human languages into one font, so you would see no tofu on the web.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that is nice. Like as long as you have one font on your computer that has every character in it, you will at least be able to see the character. Like it'll have something that it can swap into. It won't necessarily look good, but at least it'll be legible.
Musqueam. Yeah,
Thank you.
Musqueam, Squamish, and Sailoctive.
Yeah, so it's Whitney Musqueam, the variant. Does it go in there? Does it go in there? I'd say it goes there, but upside down. No, that's correct. Oh no.
Oh no.
These pieces are really neat, but they can sometimes be a little bit difficult to work with. Like, check out the action on this.
Oh.
Yeah, and
That's pretty cool.
In each of these, can open up and reveal more venting.
It's very intricate.
But it does, when you're trying to push things together, if you've forgotten it's there, it can make you feel like you've absolutely ruined something or are about to.
I mean, that's just how I feel normally.
Wake up. Oh yeah, it's that time to ruin something or almost ruin it. I wonder if today it'll be my chances at retirement.
Blah. Ooh, fancy. Chances at retirement. I feel my chances at retirement are roughly exact, or are in fact exactly the same as my chances of winning the lottery.
In that we have about the same, you can contribute about the same amount to either fund.
Yeah.
35. Whew, there's a lot of armor on this. We need L now. L, L, L. Ah, there we go. This is probably the least organized I could be about this, but 4, 12, and 7. Here. 7. And then the top. 12. Perfect.
Oh, sorry, Paul. I realize we spent all that time getting the camera lined up. And I was like, I'll work here. This is where I'm going to work.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can adjust.
It was aspirational.
I like you look like you're operating like the world's tiniest shoe shine stand. Like,
In a very real sense, I am.
got like your little rag out there, your shining guy's shoes up.
Are you actually sanding the feet at this point?
Yes.
Perfect.
I'm removing mold lines.
I would imagine that the models that they give away for free are not like from the highest quality molds they have.
Well, these are new figures. They are almost always brand new figures.
Interesting.
So they will actually be pretty crisp.
Like, would this be like if you bought a box of these guys, would this particular model be one of the
It should
things in
be.
that box?
I would need to have a look through the box, but I'm very confident that you would find this figure in it. Although, like, this is a self-contained sprue, right? It is not cut from a larger frame.
But they do sell quite a number of individual figures.
Yeah. I would actually be really curious as to...
Although usually, like, if you bought a box of these guys, the sprue would probably have like 5 different heads on it and
Yes.
different options for weapons and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because this is also the, like... if you were playing these guys in Kill Team, this would be the basic figure, or the basic model that you could have, like, an entire kill team of instead of one of the specialists.
Right, right.
I keep forgetting that they do the free model of the month.
It's usually something reasonably fun.
That's part of like a subscription thing, isn't it?
No, you can just go into the store and pick one up.
Yeah. The idea is that they want to get people coming back into the store regularly. And it makes sense.
I mean, somebody in the chat was mentioning, saying that like they went into the store and they were doing like a painting thing and like, hey, here's a Space Marine painted, and they're saying they left with Into the Dark. So apparently the system works.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Games Workshop, they've been trying very hard to get people just to, like, build and paint their miniatures and play them, and, it's uncynical, I would say, because you would expect, like, them to just decide, like, oh, we don't care, just give us money, walk out, and maybe we'll see you again. But they do really seem to, like, want to make sure that people enjoy playing.
I was, when I went through it, when I just got into the Kill Team for the first bit, I was especially impressed with their Battle Honors program.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a way of completing tasks, which generally just amount to, hey, read a story on Warhammer's website. Tell us about how you want to build your team. And you go in and you just get stamps, and eventually you end up receiving some merchandise, which is actually extremely useful to the hobby.
Yeah.
Like this little toolkit is one of the things that I got from that program.
I actually wasn't really familiar with it.
Yeah, I didn't know until Jacob told me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they, depending on how exacting they want to be about checking your work, they can get mean, but they're not going to do that because what they want is people to come in and spend more money. And you do that by providing a nice place to be.
It's an interesting aspect of Warhammer, like, and I think they understand that like, if it wasn't for the models and the painting and the that aspect of it, then it's just a board game, right? And so I think they know that that's sort of their sort of uniqueness. That's what makes sort of Warhammer, is that it has this sort of extra layer of the building and painting and stuff, and so that's what they can kind of that's what they can sort of offer that other another sort of more sort of packaged board game might not be able to.
Case in point, X-Wing.
Well, and it does also let them attract different kinds of players, because there are like warhams who don't like playing the game. They just like building models.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And ideally, they can at least talk lore and whatnot with the other players, but then you've got this instant clubhouse vibe.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it reminds me a little bit of Magic in the sense of like,
Yeah, like there are people who are brewers, there are people who are limited players, there are people who are into like the social element of like a commander game.
yeah, and I mean, while they're pushing more into the arena, like Magic Arena, digital mode, it's still, the physical game is something that nobody can really compete with Magic on that, in that front. That they have, that that the physical card game is so developed, and it's something that in the digital realm, Hearthstone can do a bunch of stuff, and all these other games can do things pretty easily, but in the physical realm, that's kind of Magic's sort of unique identifier, is that it's got the physical aspect.
And all it took was a mass global pandemic to teach all these companies what made their product special.
In some cases, companies were like, "Oh no, we're not special." Uh-oh. Disappears in a puff of logic.
But yeah, that's... I really like the aspect of giving people things that they can actually use.
Yeah. Rather than, be inclined to if you're running that kind of a promotional thing, the temptation is to like, you get a in-game cosmetic for some 40K game or something, something that is effectively free on their part to provide for you.
Or like, you get $5 off your next purchase of $200 or more.
Oh, that's always my favorite.
Yeah.
But to actually give you a real, a real model or a little kit or whatever,
A part of the
goes a long way.
game is definitely, in my mind, the best part of that, because it's now you're in. You give me a pop socket. Oh, thank you. Now I have a Warhammer pop socket.
I think Games Workshop also recognized that a big draw for people was seeing painted figures being played with on a table.
Oh yeah.
Right? That kind of attracts traffic.
Oh well, I think you're exactly right, and it probably doesn't hurt that the idea of trying to convince your buddies to get into this expensive hobby, or at least one other person.
Yeah. The best advertiser for Warhammer is the person who's gotten into it and now needs to convince other people in order to play.
Yeah. For those poor, unfortunate souls who live in an area without a Games Workshop.
I was gonna say it's like a pyramid scheme, except no, it isn't, because the original person doesn't actually get anything other than they get to play.
Which then just further perpetuates things. Oh, good. These ones don't need assembly. One more. Good. If nothing else, this kit has definitely helped up my sprue removal game.
The God Hand is smoking.
Yep. Actually, could use a little bit of oil, actually.
You're supposed to oil your God Hand?
I don't think you're supposed to, but just the joint in the back, maybe. Although it feels pretty smooth. God.
I just know if I ever took mine to the guy who sharpens them, he would look at it and go, this one must be destroyed.
The level of disrespect.
That it has been disrespected.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I did. It's like I did use it to cut some cheese at one point.
Look, everyone uses theirs to cut their toenails, right?
Oh yeah, it's the only way I can get a clean cut. Clean break. Oh, God, who is it? I saw a video this morning of a mangaka, and I can't remember who it was, but they were building a gunpla, and they decided to eschew nippers because, well, they started off with needle nose pliers and trying to get those in there as the wire cutter,
Right.
and gave up on that very quickly, and then transitioned over to using what I could only assume was a leather cutting blade.
Okay.
One of the ones with the straight bottom and just a slight curve up the side.
Okay.
Yep, and just...
I mean, that'll do the trick.
Yep.
Dr. Hutch in chat says Funko brought his God Hand out and it was starting to rust.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So I guess they do need an occasional oiling.
I guess.
There's something, very poetic about that.
I guess we'll need to bring up the Broken God Hands Reddit again.
The, Aragorn looking at your God Hand, going, this is a good pair of side cutters, right? After it's been pulled out of a barrel in Helm's Deep.
Yep.
Yes. It must be reforged.
Oof.
The whole process.
Look, I don't know what prefecture the elves live in now, but I'm pretty sure I can just get it sharpened the normal way. By which I mean the normal way for God Hands. Please do not attempt to sharpen your own God Hand.
What is the procedure for getting it resharpened?
My understanding is that it's just a mail away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not like you can just show up at the God Hand factory in Japan and say, here. But I think you might need to you might need to be domestically mailed, which is the issue.
Well, all we need to do is pool our resources and get a Japanese P.O. box.
Clearly the answer. We could go with the P.O. box. Would it be cheaper, though, just to get a house in the countryside?
No, but yes.
Just show up there every now and then?
Yeah.
You have to actually go to Japan.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but I mean, I'd volunteer.
And pick up the mail.
I can
every
do
once in
that.
a while.
I can do that.
like a trip every 6 months or so? That'd
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's basically what Beach does with mail time.
I volunteer. I'll go pick up our mail in Japan.
I'm sure there will be no one else who wants that job, so.
Not after I'm done with it.
Uh-oh.
Can it be somewhere where I have to take a train?
Oh, I think we can arrange that.
Good.
I kind of love the idea of, that's it. That sounds like somebody's you like meet them on the plane. And you're like, oh, so why are you heading to Japan? Oh, I'm a mail courier. I go to Japan every 6 months for like an hour, pick up some stuff, and then I go back home.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that it has kind of a cyberpunk flair to it. What are you doing here? I'm a courier. Hell yeah.
And then eventually, other people try to get in on it as well, and so eventually, like this little house in the country is, legally the address for like 500 people.
I'm now picturing Keanu Reeves meeting him on a plane, and him telling me he's smuggling back 83 gigs of Japanese pornography in his brain.
I mean, that's where I store mine too.
The only safe place these days. Cool tale. It also opens.
Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic. Like, cool tale, my dude.
Oh,
Neat.
Yeah, there is a lot to be said for the gimmicks in this sketch.
whoa!
It has a thagomizer.
It has a thagomizer.
I feel
God.
like the plates of the tail opening like that are like the prelude for when it's about to like shoot its big, Godzilla laser beam out its mouth. It sort of rears back and all the plates sort of lift up as it charges.
I mean, that's the cool answer.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the cooling array.
Yeah, the biological answer is that these just open before it takes a massive fart.
And then it's got like a stinger or something in the tail.
I guess, yeah, exactly. A tiny little nozzle, an emitter of sort. Who knows what comes out, but it's probably violent. I mean, people think dinosaurs are just these big, majestic beasts and full of rage and fury. And then you have to remember that these are the things that birds evolved from.
Yeah.
And birds are so dumb.
I mean, dinosaurs, they're supposed to have like a brain the size of a walnut or something, right? But then again, a Tyrannosaurus being dumb doesn't make it less scary in a lot of ways,
I mean, you just jingle your keys at it.
Exactly.
And throw them away.
The amount of times that if you went back to the Triassic and saw any dinosaur, two-legged or otherwise, just staring at its own ass, it'd probably be monumental.
Just like spinning around in a circle trying to bite its own tail.
I just like the idea that, reconstructions of what dinosaurs look like based on their skeletons is probably realistic up to a point.
Yep.
But, if we try to recreate, I don't know, a beaver based on its skeleton, we lose a lot of, what we would think of as identifying
Oh,
characteristics.
yeah. God. I'd love to travel centuries into the future and just tell the people who don't know anything else about otters that they have a pocket that they keep their favorite stones in.
Yeah.
Yes.
That they had a pocket that they kept their favorite stones in.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't come across on the skeleton if you uncovered a fossilized otter.
Nor would the fact that the platypus's plumage or fur, I can't necessarily tell which, glows under ultraviolet light.
Ooh.
Right. And nobody knows why. They're like, it's an adaptation. They seem to have gotten that ability somewhere.
I mean,
but why?
I mean, the last time I was in the Spencer's Gifts UV light section, I questioned why a lot. And of course the answer was nobody knows. Do you think Cheech and Chong own the rights to their own likenesses anymore?
I don't know. I wonder if they know.
I hope they do. Should I watch Dazed and Confused?
You know, I don't know. I've never seen it.
Okay. I was just thinking, because it's a very old film at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I watched 10 Things I Hate About You recently, which was still really good, honestly.
I haven't given that one the chance. So.
Cheech and Chong did show up on, or they're on the Muppets.
Oh yeah, the Muppet Mayhem.
The Muppet Mayhem. They have a cameo.
That must be an episode I haven't got to yet. That series turned out to be a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable.
It's do you like Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem? Okay, well, spend 12 episodes with them.
Amazing.
Yeah, I feel like they really nailed the sort of Muppets feeling better than a lot of recent Muppet endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
I did see someone tweeting today that if the Muppet series was still being made, the recent one had survived, they would have had a parody of Tar called Pig, where Miss Piggy just roundhouse kicks the conductor.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. There we go. Okay. So that goes with that. We need to build 2 of these. I3. The last cameo I saw on that show was, I think, Danger Mouse, which was a
Really?
Sorry, not Danger Mouse, the other mouse-headed guy.
It's extremely 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Dead Mouse?
Yes,
Dead
thank
Mouse,
you. There
yeah.
we go.
But the series is very very well done. When I first sort of heard about it and saw it, I was worried that it was going to be like, they're all kind of washed up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of a redemption thing.
Nope.
Like a like a Spinal Tap thing or something. But the idea that they're still, that they have this, the Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem is extremely popular in this quite narrow niche. And they've just been successfully touring for 30 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Never made an album. I think that's all I need to do with that one. Okay, good. One more then.
I actually watched a couple episodes of the original Muppet Show, which is on, because that's on Disney Plus as well.
Great.
And it's very weird. Like, it's one of those things where, like, they keep trying to sort of recapture it, and I don't think you can. Like, I don't think, because it's the tropes they're parodying or sort of referencing are from like variety shows that were like they were like sort of old even when the Muppet Show came out.
Right.
So like, if you just try to do the Muppet Show straight like the same way again, people they don't really have the same kind of impact that I don't think it would really work. And like a lot of the things they do aren't even like funny. Like they would just do like they would have a Johnny Cash on, and he would just legitimately sing one of his songs with like Muppets kind of dancing with him, and like it wasn't supposed to be funny. It was just like good music.
Yeah. But I think that's something that they tried to do is update that idea with the Muppets Tonight.
Right.
Back during the 90s.
But it never quite cooked in the same way.
And I don't know if that's a failure of the concept, or maybe the Muppets themselves just work as an old variety show system.
The other thing that I did not realize is the first thing they ever did in the first episode of The Muppet Show is Phenomena.
Really?
Wow.
Like that's the first.
That's your introduction to the Muppets.
That's the first segment in the first episode of The Muppet Show. I did not realize that.
That's a statement.
Because none of the Muppets in the Phenomena are long-term characters, are they?
I don't think so.
And a lot of that's the thing. Like a lot of stuff in the Muppet Show wasn't like they didn't have like the main Muppets in everything. There was just lots of like random Muppets.
It was a huge cast of characters.
Yeah, they'd be just like, I guess they have basically the equivalent of like a Hollywood backlot of just, dozens and dozens and dozens of random Muppets. I'm sure there are like hardcore Muppet heads who have like big like databases of like every time some random background Muppet showed up.
Oh, absolutely, there would have to be. I don't know, maybe if they tried something like a Saturday Night Live format and just really lean into the rip-off nature of it. Oops, did I get... Oh no, those go opposite each other.
I actually would love to see the Muppets doing a wrestling league, but mainly just the behind-the-scenes stuff,
Okay.
where, like, Graham once described to me WWE as not really being a wrestling-focused thing, or not being best enjoyed as a wrestling thing, but as being about a bunch of dudes trying to put on a wrestling league and succeeding or failing to various degrees.
God. I mean, the nice thing about that idea is that it also fits really well with the natural Muppet plus normal people. Or normal people. Like if you just made it a wrestling league where the hype men were all Muppets and the wrestlers were just wrestlers. Yeah, to the point where you'd always have your Muppet handler ringside for every fight. Shouting encouragement or getting involved with the commentators, who would also have to be Muppets at that point.
Right. Well, I mean, like, it all comes from, like, pantomime, I think. Right? The audience kind of being into it in various degrees or not.
The idea of a wrestling thing that is what would amount to basically Muppets pitting humans against each other.
Yeah.
Could end up being not quite what they were going for, but
Yeah, it's like Pokemon.
yeah.
I just love the idea of this little terrible pallbearer of a Muppet. Ooh. Oh, which also we should give a moment of silence for the Sheik.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh.
It's okay. He's guarding heaven in case Pat Robertson does anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did not mean to leave a moment of silence for that man.
Nope.
Okay, these are constructed.
What is constructed?
No, that's more kanji than I know.
We've made a thing. We don't know what it is, but it's a thing.
Computers are amazing. Let's find out what that says. Show me potato salad. Arm assembly.
All right.
So that's why everything's so tiny.
He's got little Tyrannosaurus arms.
Yeah. Look, the arms are just for show. When Xeon finishes mass producing the Sturm Tyrann, the war will be over in 6 months.
Now all I can think of are those questions, or the games, thought exercise, the posts, where people say, like, if you were making a Muppet film and you were remaking a film, but everyone in it was a Muppet, except for one character, what would you choose? And, like, the ones that are entertaining are things like John Wick just killing Muppets for 2 hours, right? Like Keanu Reeves just like...
Yeah.
But there was one that really got me, and I can't remember what it is now. I'm going to have to meditate on it.
I always come up with different answers every time that question is asked. And this time, my answer is The Passion of the Christ.
Ooh. We're getting a sequel.
Oh, yes, and that's not even a joke.
No.
Wait, what?
Well, I mean, they did leave us on the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I don't actually know when Passion of the Christ ends in the terms of the Passion.
If I remember,
Whatever.
it's
When they're all singing.
Yeah, always look on the
on
bright
the
side.
Yeah.
bright side.
okay. I may be misremembering my movies now. I do believe it ends on a helicopter shot, though, which puts it right up there with right.
You might be thinking of Rambo.
I was thinking of specifically not the Rise of Skywalker, but the Force Awakens. PCE. That'll be polycap.
Should we take a quick commercial break?
I do think that's a very good
That
idea.
sounds really good.
Let's do that.
Do that, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solar Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. We're having a hobby night once again, and we manifested an Alex.
It was extremely painful.
For me. For those just tuning in, we've also got Cameron and Paul on tech over here. What's up?
Do you ever have one of those 5-minute errands that ends up taking like 2 hours?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, it's 3. I have, I can go get this thing that like the obtaining part was going to be literally 5 minutes. And then it was gridlock both ways on the bus.
That's rough.
But vaguely unrelated, I knew that I was going to be late, so I decided to get a gift for both of you.
Oh,
which
no.
I think will give you pleasure.
This is so small.
Thank you. And oh my
God.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Yep. That's not coffee.
No.
That's not soda.
That's a dram in a can.
This is
Stacks.
astonishing.
Isn't that the cutest thing?
Where did you...
amazing.
This is so cool.
I know, right?
one, I'm keeping this can. I think this is what I keep my brushes in.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be really good.
Yeah. Because right now I have a Coffee Boss steel can. Oh, that's really good. But
Wait.
You should turn the label around.
Yeah, what is that?
It's Irish whiskey.
Yeah. In a
In
love.
a teeny tiny can.
A shot glass size can.
I love
mean,
Well, that's a
everything-
big shot. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's an Irish size shot.
I love everything about this.
I know.
it's 100
Thank you.
milliliters. That's yeah.
That's so much nice. I like that a lot better than the little alcohol things they have in like the
Oh yeah, like the little bottles.
the little bottles. The
Yeah.
can is very nice.
Sometimes those are kind of cute, but
I mean, like when I was a kid, I thought the little tiny bottles were really cute, and
Yeah.
you'd see them on the airplane.
I know,
And
right?
you'd be like, "Oh, look, it's kid size," and my parents were like,
No. If you don't mind, I'm going to save this for the third segment.
Oh,
Because I've
absolutely.
just cracked open a...
yeah, I don't imagine you
"What are
would.
the tasting notes? A superior blend of grain, malt, and pot still whiskey, offering robust toasted wood, vanilla, and fruit flavors. The perfect dram in a can." Cool.
It seemed exceptionally Japanese. I don't think it is Japanese, but
No, but
Matured
absolutely.
in
their kind of
Ireland,
thing.
canned by Two Stacks Whiskey, Minnetonka, MN,
Minneapolis?
Minnesota,
Minnesota.
Minnetonka.
Aged in sherry butts and bourbon casks.
I'm going to enjoy that later.
Absolutely.
Fantastico.
I mean, we already have like the smaller, like Coke cans. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know how big they are, like 200 milliliters. The little cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the next step they go down to.
Actually, just because it will raise more questions than it answers, I should probably show you what my errand was.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I think I will choose to not explain it.
Okay.
Always best.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
I know
Valves.
what those are for. I know what each of those is for.
Yeah, you do.
We know one is go and one is stop.
That's not at all how these are both. This is go and this is go hard.
Oxygen and nitrogen.
Sure. I mean, that would be stop and go. Anyway,
Yeah, normally green nitrogen.
Or is one oxy and the other acetylene?
maybe.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm up to no good. Okay, where the hell am I?
Yeah, that was my problem when we were sitting down.
I do remember now, like I'm on this step.
Does anyone have a pin drill?
Yes!
Cool.
I was, it's a shame you didn't get my excited face. I decided to be extra wanky because last time, those of you who saw me working on this comes with a set of like little teeny tiny brass rods, which you might need to see on close up, but it's like, they're very small. So I was like, I should bring my pin vise. I actually brought 2 pin vices and my bits. And just to be a real anal retentive jerkbag, I brought my micrometer,
Nice. So you can know exactly what
Yeah.
diameter you need.
which is completely unnecessary, but
Vernier?
yeah, this is just like a cheap, probably from Amazon special, but
No, that's fine.
you know, you gotta start somewhere. Holy
Yeah, I mean, like,
cripes. Some of these are really tiny.
I had what felt like the biggest spray maneuver for home improvement, which was I have a floor air conditioner unit, and it has the 2
The hoses for
the
exhaust.
2 hoses for exhaust. But
Hoses,
instead of just
hoses.
opening a window and like putting them out, I have gotten a piece of acrylic the size of the screen in the window.
Yes!
With 2 holes cut in it.
Yep.
I'm gonna have like weather trimming around
So
it.
now you have window, but also exhaust.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I
Nice.
felt like I had an IQ of about 6 million.
I
And I also just enjoyed that when I called up the sign place, because like it was the only place I could think of that would do it. They were like, "Oh, yeah, Like they seemed intrigued by the idea, which made me feel like a very smart boy.
No, that's very good. I went down a similar rabbit hole last year, and ended up trying to decide, or deciding to go with the Canadian Tire version. You know, they sell a kit with an expanding sliding set of things, and honestly, your idea is a lot cleaner. I just hadn't thought of calling the sign store to get the acrylic.
Yeah, I called Garside. But like, it's going to be like $90.
Yeah, but that's you'll get it properly fit.
Yes.
See, yeah, I've got that kit with the extending thing, but I have to put it in like my sliding door, and it doesn't extend enough.
No, it doesn't. Not even if you buy two.
So I sort of end up kind of mostly covering the door, and then sort of having to put some stuff in the top to block it off even more.
Yep.
Because I have my windows don't, or the sort of
The push-out kind, or
yeah, they're the kind that sort of hinge. They don't, so I can't just slide open the door. Yeah.
exactly. I just got screen doors installed, honestly, on all my sliding doors, and that'll make it a lot easier. And that's actually meant I haven't had to turn on the air conditioning yet this year.
Someone in chat just brought this up. Is the ducting for an AC unit the same size as a spray booth?
It can be.
Tight.
Yeah. I don't think that those are terribly well standardized, but
I mean,
I'm sure you could get it.
that said,
Yeah.
there's nothing that says you can't cut another hole in the acrylic.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's a general rule of life.
Nothing saying it can't have another hole.
Ooh.
So, what are these brass rods for?
So they're meant to form a variety of antennas and connectors and like little details and gubbins, because you could never. I mean, I showed last time that you can make these by stretching sprue, but
Yeah,
there's limitations to that technique.
they won't be as sturdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember making stretch sprue antennae when I was doing model plane kits.
So are these
Who I learned the technique from, actually.
are these supposed to be like, will they be eventually bent or anything, or are they just they're supposed to be straight up?
No, I think some of them get bent.
There's going to be quite a forest on this thing of
Yep.
little sticky uppy bits.
A bunch of them look straight, but I also will probably like bend some of them, either to like make them look like they've been whipped around or whatever. There's also like a coil spring.
Well, like, yeah, because also with whip antennas, you can have them through like loops in order to like limit their height.
Yeah. Holy smokes, is that small?
Tiny.
It's 12 thousandths.
I don't think I've ever seen a Machine Krieger kit painted to look factory new.
I don't even think I have a drill that's that small. Where's my smallest one? Is it this one? Is this one broken? The tool that I'm using, for those who have not seen it before, is a micrometer, which is used for measuring small distances very accurately.
Yeah, it's basically like a rotary caliper.
Yeah, like a caliper will give you like pretty accurate to like with like a range of like 0 to like 6 inches or whatever that is. That this one is like an imperial one that does everything under 1 inch. And it's not a very good one, but it's still able to read.
Well, like if you're getting down,
precision.
yeah, right. Like it depends on what the use is for.
I also need to learn how to read this properly. I think this is 19. So I don't think I have a bit that small. I almost wonder if it would be worth it to like heat it up and then just like poke it right in.
I mean, that's a valid strategy.
Yeah. Wonder when I last calibrated this thing.
Does it lock in place?
It can. There's a little lock there.
I mean, I suppose the crudest way of doing it would be to take the measurement, lock it in place, and see what drill bit fits.
Yeah, that's what I found I did for these two, but this one I just don't have one small enough. So those are matched up.
At the shaver shop, I was able to get a, completely serviceable, probably not very good, set of drill bits. In 1/10 of a millimeter increments.
I bought one of those, and then had to purchase piecemeal the two that I actually needed for the kit I was doing.
Don't. That sucks.
It's okay. The shaver shop it has a good pricing on there.
They're good lads.
Yes, they are.
There's a fellow there who's a fan of the website.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Had a gentleman come up to me and say, "Huh, you look like you're in here for a good tinker."
Oh,
Bwah, 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 bwah.
Excuse me.
Yes. So what we're saying
I
is,
lost it.
if you're watching us, we're watching you.
I just started feeding them shots. I just got the red mist, man.
My
Flurry of blows to the solar plexus. For those of you unfamiliar with this, we are not having a stroke. We are making a reference to the 1990s radio sketch series, The Champ. A brief, or, daily? Was The Champ daily?
Oh, wow.
Couldn't tell you. I don't actually know what you're talking about, but
Oh, it was like, I don't know, they were like 2 or 3 minutes long. It was kind of like TikToks, only on the radio. About a boxer who had taken a retired boxer who had taken many blows to the head and would respond with uncontrolled violence to innocuous statements.
it sounds pretty funny.
That sounds like a podcast today.
The one that I always remember was the Champ was out buying a couch and found one that he liked, but mentioned that he needed to bring his wife in to, verify, get her opinion on it. And the salesman was like, "Yeah, bring in your wife and we'll dick her over the couch."
Oh boy.
I says, "Pardon?"
Wow. Canadian Brewhouse still uses the Champ for ads, but not the same person are writing, though.
I
Wow.
would also not be surprised to learn that the Champ is not aged very well.
Oh, weird.
But this is now the second Tinker Tailor in a row where I'm hearing about old Canadian weirdness that has not aged well, yet still sticks around.
Yeah. Well, largely in the head of millennials in places that have been hollowed out either by lead or microplastics.
Or both.
Yeah. I assume, microplastics are just going through my brain like a ball mill and clearing out all the spaces that have been rusted by lead. Right? Like, all the lead corrosion has gone through my brain, and then the microplastics will just go through and scour it out, leaving me with a cobweb-like brain analog.
Yeah. That's my hope with my liver, is that the alcohol flushes the microplastics out at least. So, you get cirrhosis one way or another, but
Hey, your liver grows back.
yeah.
What?
It's like what the hell is it called? The Noir game with the meme where he says doubt.
L.A. Noir.
That's the one.
Right, I'm going to need 2 of these again. Double Y's. 1 and 5.
It's double wide and double deep.
Do you mind if I borrow your micrometer
Not at all.
and drill bits?
There you go. I guess so here's a bunch.
Actually, I probably don't even need the micrometer.
I mean, you could pretend.
I suppose.
Here are the ones that I picked out for my purposes.
I do
And
love
then
the
you can choose your weapon here.
I do love the feel of precision tools.
I know. I still haven't been able to justify the cost, but as a fidget tool, I want to get 2 half-inch Joe blocks to just have them rung together and just carry them around.
That would actually be fun, yeah.
So Joe blocks, short for Johansson blocks. They're not actually that's their original name. They're called gauge blocks. like GAGE blocks. They're machining tools that are little pieces of steel that are exactly the size they say they are.
Right.
Like on a certain, like between a certain surface, they are like absolutely dead on, precisely their measurement, and they're I think they're either the second to last or last authority on what a size is.
Ooh.
Because the really high end sets have their provenance like traced back to the company,
Right.
so that they're accurate to something ridiculous like within a millionth of an inch. To use that, you use those to calibrate your precision measuring tools.
Right. Because they're known good.
And so one of the bizarre and still not fully explained characteristics of these blocks is that you can ring them together.
Right.
If you place them face to face and like twist them, they will adhere through a force that is not quite fully understood.
Neat.
They just stick together. There are theories that it's air pressure or surface tension or something. Maybe one of the atomic forces. We don't know.
Subtle magnetism as a current, or as a current is formed between the two blocks.
Who knows?
An electron sea.
A small observable glitch.
There's nothing as satisfying in Warhammer miniatures as a drilled out gun barrel.
Yeah. Well done. I need to get some dudes that have gun barrels.
Yeah, is it a Van der Waals force?
It's not known.
There's a bunch of things that could. Yeah, I remember reading about it. Like, there's a bunch of things that could be the reason and are sort of possibly partially responsible, but
It could also be like all of the above.
yeah.
I'm willing to bet there's not a lot of funding being thrown around to figure it out either.
No, I mean they work. They work very well, so that's good enough for machinists.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a video that I watched on the origins of precision by the I think this channel is called Machine Thinking. It's fascinating.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that.
It's a really good like 30 minutes that is well worth your time because the guy, he basically breaks down, it's like, where does precision come from? Like, if you had nothing, how would you establish a flat surface, a straight line, and like measured increments?
It's essentially the measurement version of building a lathe
Yeah.
to
and
build all other tools.
Exactly. And like, he's like, how did we arrive at this? And I was very surprised because there's a lot that I didn't know, like rubbing rocks together.
And making a compelling argument that sort of every time we are able to increase our level of precision, that in turn enables a whole new raft of sort of technological and manufacturing advances.
It sure does. I mean, it's like ballpoint pens, for example.
Right, are kind of like an offshoot of being able to manufacture precise ball bearings.
Yep.
Right.
Like we take it for granted, but they're actually like highly sophisticated and very precise, and manufactured for pennies.
I think
Yeah, like
that's the
didn't-
amazing part.
aren't there only a couple of places in the world that actually manufacture ballpoint pens? Like Bic is French, aren't they, or Swiss?
Are they?
And then there's a Japanese manufacturer.
I mean, that sounds
And I think
right.
the Chinese recently developed independent ballpoint pen technology.
Yeah, it's like the ballpoint pen race. But yeah, that channel goes into a lot of cool stuff. Like they had another video about heavy metal presses and what a big deal that was during the war. How the way he explains it is it's the Second World War, and the Allies are tearing apart crashed German fighters, and they're horrified by what they find because they're constructed out of unibody pieces,
Which-
just like big cross-sectional, like single pressings made
Yeah.
out of magnesium. They're like, how was this made?
Right,
And
instead
it's
of being like
have
sub-assemblies.
Instead,
Yeah.
comparable technology for the States would be like a whole bunch of different pieces bolted and riveted together. And these are just like one piece.
Well, this is a big thing in the car industry right now that Tesla was trying to get into unibody construction and just couldn't quite make it.
Yeah. So they were like, how did they do this? Like, we can't figure this out. And it turns out that, like, after the First World War, Germany lost most of their iron reserves, but they kept a lot of their magnesium. And so, necessity being the mother of invention, they figured out how to do, like, pressed parts using like an enormous hydraulic press. They would just take the raw material and just and so the advantage is that it's very light, it's very strong because it's one piece, and you can crank them out real fast.
Which is, I mean, that's the Holy Trinity: cheap, fast, and good.
Yep. And so after the war, the Americans took 2 presses, and the Soviets took 1. Like, I think the Soviets got the big one, and the Americans got the 2 smaller ones. And then that kicked off like a race behind like the space race and everything that like nobody knows about in this like heavy press kind of
Press
race.
manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
It's so cool.
Like this, you're taking me all the way back to Connections, and one of my favorite episodes of that on the that section in the development of it was the episode on the steam engine, and they're talking specifically about the need to be able to have precision in making thermometers specifically, and how they ended up using a screw system, or Fahrenheit used the screw system to mark his degradations on the on thermometers. And so that that ability to make precise marks is suddenly extremely useful in other areas, as
Right.
is wont to be done in Connections.
Like, I remember reading about latitude and longitude, and how latitude, north-south, is fairly easy to do
Yes.
once you have good understanding of the stars, right? Because you know, you can take those measurements with a sextant. But longitude is much more difficult, and had to wait for good clocks.
Exactly. There's actually an entire mini-series called Longitude.
Oh,
that,
really?
That deals with that very question.
I am so tickled that even spaceships still have a manual sextant on board. Like the Apollo program had a manual sextant. God, I love that shit.
That said, that may be going away at some point in the future.
I mean,
Because the Royal Navy just proved the feasibility of using quantum navigation
oh yeah.
as their...
I mean, I figured that they would want to keep one as a backup.
Oh, probably.
What does that mean?
Quantum navigation?
It's a method of using, I believe, entangled particles to measure movement.
Sounds a little bit like what they did with the the kilogram.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
well that's a little bit different, but
yeah, I remember the
vital.
the fights going on at a level adjacent to what I was in when I was in university,
Yeah.
around, you know, how to define the kilogram.
Science fight.
Yeah.
It's a certain number of atoms of silicon or something, isn't it?
It's
no,
electrical.
Not anymore.
It's a charge.
Yep.
Oh,
Or it's no, sorry, it's a you use a balance, an electrical balance.
right.
So it's now something that's like infinitely repeatable and can be worked out through math.
Yeah, well, it has it has a definition now in terms of other units.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are some things that don't have a definition in terms of other units,
Yeah.
and many things that do. And it's kind of surprising that mass,
Was the last one
Yeah.
to go.
well, it is one that can't be defined in its own terms, or can't be measured in its own terms.
That's something.
And that kind of says a lot about the composition of it, then.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, mass in general is like, you can think of it as the amount of stuff in something.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? How do you measure that? Right? You would have to, like, count the atoms.
And what does it? But when you look at an atom, when you get close to the atom, you realize that that's not even stuff itself. As you were saying earlier about the electron cloud, as an option of sealing together these two pieces.
So prior to this point, we did have the standard kilogram, which was a physical object
Yep.
that had a solitary role in life,
And
which
lived in
was
France.
to weigh exactly 1 kilogram for as long as possible. Before
Well,
teeny tiny forces acted on it.
Well, that was the thing. It wasn't that it was.
It wasn't that it weighed 1 kilogram. It was
was
that
the
it
kilogram.
was 1 kilogram, which is a weird, like, thing to think about, right?
But when you're trying to define what a kilogram is for what reasons, yeah, if you're just weighing stuff for the economy, that yes, you can use an arbitrary unit. It doesn't matter what the unit is as long as it's consistent.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to determine physical properties of other aspects of nature, you want something that is going to stay the same, a constant.
Well, it's like how a meter is so many wavelengths of a certain,
Yes.
like, kind of light.
Yeah, the origins of precision goes into that, where first of all how they established the meter, and then more importantly how they distributed that measurement.
I love that part.
Like before that, when they came up with the yard, they actually had like an iron rod nailed to City Hall, and merchants could come up and take a string and figure
Right.
out how long the yard was.
They had that with the meter too.
Yeah, and then it burned down,
Yeah.
and everybody lost their measurements, and so they had to make a new one. But before that, there was no standardization whatsoever, and there was thousands of units of measurement, which is just kind of bananas to think about.
or be based on the king's forearm or something.
That's one of the things that I find really, really funny about the Mosin Nagant, is that rifle's design is so old that the first versions, their sight increments are in arshin instead of meters. Arshin being part of the Russian apothecarial measurement system. So you're talking pre-Soviet cubits.
Wow.
It's bananas. God, I love history. It's really funny because there's a diagram for what all those measurements are, and it looks sort of like, what's the name of that Da Vinci guy who's
Oh, the Vitruvian Man.
yeah, Vitruvian.
Man.
It looks like
Yeah.
a Vitruvian man, but it's like a Cossack. He's got his hat, and it's very cute.
Love it. Okay, we have hit the katakana runners. Which means if I start repeating things that don't make sense, don't worry about it.
There's also these weird units of measurement that stick around just because they kind of are, in reloading. Grains are still used.
Yeah, there's lots of specific measurements for certain domains
Yeah.
that make sense.
Yeah, grains are used, and sometimes drams are used specifically for shotgun loads. And I don't know why.
But that was what I was saying earlier about as long as it's consistent,
Yeah.
Any measurement system can be used.
Yeah, and it totally works. And I was a little surprised to find that you know why it's called grains?
Tell me.
So it's because the unit of measurement is based on the approximate weight of a grain of cereal.
Wow. Also, by the way, for those of you in the southern regions right now, this is not an endorsement of the Fahrenheit scale. There is never an endorsement of the Fahrenheit scale.
But Ian, it's a more humanistic scale because
What?
the larger or the finer gradations mean that there's more of a recognizable
should move
difference
this
between
solvent further away from
65
Cameron.
degrees and 66 degrees. Otherwise, you would be trying to move a thermostat between 22.5 and 22.6.
Here, have a sniff of this.
Thank you.
Oh God.
Yeah. I can live with decimals, thank you. I'm not an Intel
Yeah.
processor.
Yeah.
It was funny when I did that guillotine project. I finally gained a sense for what metric measurements were because, like, somewhat shamefully, I didn't have a mental grasp of what some number of these measurements were, just because I had never really worked with them. Because one of the useful things about the imperial system is that, at least in my experience, is that I have a grasp of how big approximately an inch or a foot is. Like, I can visualize it. It's like, oh, that's about 5 feet or whatever. And I didn't have that for metric, but I have a better sense now. Like, 20 millimeters is 3/4 inch.
Yeah, unfortunately, the metric system doesn't have a good foot equivalent. Which is
Yeah.
Like
I guess it'd be like a decimeter.
I
Yeah.
mean, officially Canada uses the metric system, but colloquially we use, when we're measuring humans,
Yep.
we use imperial.
Quite often.
And like a lot of construction is still done
A lot of
Yeah.
construction
Oh, yeah.
is
in
feet
2x4s and whatever.
2x4s, frustratingly not 2 inches by 4 inches.
Right, they're not even
Wait,
correct.
really?
within the-
Yep.
Yep.
No, not at all. Yeah,
Not even close.
that would make sense.
I mean, I guess I should have anticipated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. It's just like, I mean, you even get that in calibers as well. It's just like, I don't know. It's like
228.
45 caliber, sure thing. Hey,
Well, and like-
what's this 0.2 on the end?
And caliber
or zero.
being also like, sometimes it refers to the diameter of the barrel and sometimes it refers to the length as a function of the diameter. Like naval guns are like, the Iowa class battleships have 16-inch guns at 50 calibers
What?
because their length is 50 times
Oh God.
their diameter.
At least gauge almost makes sense. It's like the number of, lead balls that would weigh exactly a pound.
Is which?
That's
Is the
gauge?
I think that's gauge
Well,
for
Gauge.
shotguns.
Yeah, I mean, from what I believe, gauge is just a generic. Like, there are lots of gauges.
Well, yeah.
depending-
Well, there's like wire gauge, which might be something different, but I think it might be the same as shot gauge, because I'm fairly certain that it's the number of lead balls of equal size that would weigh.
Yeah,
I
but
guess when you're doing, like, you would... This kind of brings it around again, because when you're dealing with materials that can contract or expand as they heat up or cool down, then you need to find some way of measuring them that doesn't depend on that. Right?
Pretty weird.
Right, but yeah, I believe gauge is just the term for like a measurement that's based on. So it's like a
it's-
domain-specific measurement.
It's
Yeah.
usually it's diameter
There's like-
in the generic term.
Yeah, there's like wire gauges, there's shotgun gauges,
Well,
there's
the annoying part about
also rail gauges.
Domain dependent standard.
But that's the issue, is that you can't tell what the context is, but if someone just says, oh, it's 15 gauge.
okay,
It's
that could be anything.
Worse than physicists insisting on measuring everything in electron volts.
But it's that interesting thing where, like, especially back in the day when, people would be sort of really into one particular area of expertise. You'd be like, you'd be a sailor or whatever, you knew all the sailor measurements, and you didn't need to. Nobody needed to like compare a certain sail.
Yar, that mainsail be 14 fish high, says I.
Yeah. Like everyone kind of knew what that the fact that a nautical mile and a regular mile are different lengths wasn't a big deal because you weren't comparing them.
Long tons, short tons. Troy ounces.
I will say that the Imperial system has the advantage of good namespace.
Yeah.
Single syllable.
But the breakdown, like divisions, especially when you get into like fluid measurements.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love the image of the various fluid measurements lined out like the tree of Sephiroth.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
It's like, are you ready for quarts on gallons on pints? And ounces.
I mean, the pint is kind of a divinely ordained volume.
Well, that's just because of ice cream.
Yes.
Yes. Ice cream? Ice cream?
The fact that it lines up so closely to half a liter too is just nice.
Oh, hell.
Yeah, a pint defined as how much ice cream you want to eat in one sitting.
How much ice cream you must not eat in one sitting.
Oh, hell's bells.
Oh god, I hope I didn't trim that too close. No, that's sprue. Z10 is an extremely small piece that needs to slot into the end of this, I guess?
Talking about units of mass, I picked up a O-House 3-beam scale off of USPEC.
Hey! Nice.
Chuffed to bits about it because it's like, I think it was pretty cheap as I recall. And I was very confused by the scale because it says right on it that it has a capacity up to something like 2.5 kilograms. And I was like, but how's that possible? Because it has a 500 gram slider, a 100 gram slider, and a 10 gram slider. So it's like, that's 5, 6, that's only 700. It's like, how does it work?
Because it's a scale, right? So you can adjust it, I guess? No, that doesn't make sense now that I
Much
say it out
cooler
loud.
than that.
Yeah.
There are counterweights
That's
that you
it.
can hang on the end.
And you add, that
Which-
adds.
So they scale.
Exactly.
Right.
And what's weird is I'm pretty sure that the counterweights don't weigh what they are supposed to because their position on the beam
is
to
different
be
from where it would
to
be.
be the equivalent. So there's like, I think there's a 250, a 500, and a 1,000 gram.
Oh.
So then you can combine those to mix and match and get up
Right,
to
apply torques.
Right, but the 1,000 gram counterweight doesn't weigh 1,000
Absolutely
grams.
couldn't.
itself. It doesn't weigh 1,000 grams, but positioned where it
affects
belongs, it will.
1,000
Yeah.
grams.
So I kind of want to make some myself. But that's tricky.
That upsets me because that
That's one of those like standardization things that like you have to make a decision at some point. It's like, okay, do we call this 1,000 grams in the knowledge that it's not 1,000 grams, but it is effectively 1,000 grams for our purposes? Or do we call this whatever 753.7 grams? And then everyone has to remember that means 1,000 grams
Yep.
for the purposes of this thing,
like,
which is going to be less confusing.
it just means that these weights are incompatible with anything that is not explicitly this scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I either want to find some.
Proprietary.
Yeah, if I want to find some used or make my own. I kind of want to turn my own check weights, but I'm not sure how I would do that. I guess I would get them to like pretty close size and then just spend an afternoon like sanding off one layer of the bottom and then reweighing it. And then going past it and swearing really, really loud.
Can't easily put things back.
Or maybe I could just like have a receptacle in the bottom that weight could be added or removed.
Or like, analytical chemists will have their own glassware, like their own pipettes, that are not exactly what is like. They will be calibrated, right? So you will know that this one transfers an aliquot of like 1.002 milliliters.
It's an aliquot.
It's your whatever it is you're transferring.
Oh, okay.
Aliquot is the volume that it moves, with a related uncertainty.
Are you two aware of the Victoria Art Collective? Sorry, just to quickly
I don't
shift.
think so.
I just recently found out about them. They are nearby to they're downtown, near the Victoria Tool Library.
I keep wanting to go there.
The Art Collective is if you have old art supplies, tools or paints or whatnot, they accept them as donation and they resell them.
The devil,
at
you
at an
say?
extremely low price. So,
To young, burgeoning talents?
yeah, or to anyone who just needs them.
Ew.
I've just discovered it as there's a one in Seattle that encouraged me to.
I definitely
here.
gotta check that out.
Yeah, the ones in Seattle, they're getting a lot of donations of cricket style vinyl cutters and sewing machines and whatnot. So, usually resold for about $50.
Anybody else immediately visualize a tool library as like a place with books, and then you open the book and there's like a hammer inside?
It just whacks your thumb.
Dang.
It's just shelves full of books with like cutouts inside them with different tools.
I mean, they've got table routers, so.
It's a big book.
Yeah.
It's like a set of encyclopedias.
Which reminds me, I can't decide if that's something I want to do as a Tinker Tailor project or just try to do it on my own first, but
What's that?
I want to make an acrylic case on my own.
That's...
And apparently it's not difficult if you use a router to properly cut the
Okay.
sheets at the angles
That gives
are
me
necessary.
stress just thinking about it.
It's one of those things where I've seen the procedure done a couple of times, and now, I mean, that's literally what this program is about, isn't it? God damn it, yes.
I
we
saw
have
it
to
on
do it now.
YouTube. How hard could it be?
Do you ever see any of those ancient technology videos where they're like building a hut out in the woods somewhere, and the comments are like, "Man, I should get my buddies and I together and go out this weekend to do this." It's like, well, this was a time lapse made over like a year.
What's bizarre is that there's like the guy who kind of started that trend, like primitive technology. His stuff is all like, as far as I know, he's like very legit. There's a massive market for like fakes.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
where
I
they
believe that.
they'll just get excavators to work between cuts, or they'll just like build stuff in a way that isn't going to last and that kind of thing. I'm just like, that's frustrating in a way that I can't quite articulate.
I've seen things where they show like, three videos by one YouTube channel that are clearly like in the same spot. Like they just like built a thing and then shot the video and then took the thing down and built another thing there. And
Yeah. Well, plagiarism is the sincerest form of flattery.
I mean, flattery is nicer though.
Yeah, I'd rather be flattered than plagiarized.
Oh, sure.
I'd rather be patronized, thank you very much.
Speaking of which, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
It's a service we all use.
I am at the moment trying to crowdfund a new Geiger counter. I say new, it's an old one.
New to you.
Yes, an Eberline 210, I think. It's one of those ones that's like completely unkillable.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
And it was very highly spoken of by somebody from Nuke Twitter, so I found one. I'm just like, I want it. I've also been encountering a lot of uranium glass. Now that I know what to look for. Like
When you said you were crowdfunding that, I thought you were gonna be like making a new. I was
no.
like, I've got a new hot design for a
Yeah,
Geiger
right.
counter. It's digital with NFTs or something.
Oh no!
I really like
It's AI controlled.
Yeah, it uses an AI to determine the radiation level at your location, what it should be, and then it will tell you that.
Why
It
does it
consults an online library.
It just keeps printing hoses.
But I really like industries and technology where there is not a constant churn of consumerism.
Yep. Consumerism sucks.
But like, just imagine
What if
that.
we were able to do things and not have to sell it
Yeah,
at the end?
there was a thing. I don't remember what the exact context was. It might have been fan fiction or fan art or something. It was talking about how like tech bros don't understand it because like if it can't be monetized. And somebody, this was like brilliant because I'd never heard it contextualized so well. It's like for a lot of people, it's like knitting. It's like, sure, it creates a product
Right.
in big air quotes, but that's not even really the point.
Yeah. Well, like, knitting was described to me once as like a way of trapping waste energy.
Dang, that's...
You know, it's kind of like the fidget toy.
Yeah, like I think that's sort of how I look at certain types of fan art, or even just like certain types of OC art creators. Like they don't. I hesitate to say that they don't have a point,
But
because
it's own
not
benefit.
exactly
Yeah.
its own benefit.
A career artist is different from...
Yeah, it's not fair to say that there's no point. It's just like it's a different exercise. They're like creating unique designs that delight them and others just in a vacuum.
God, if the point of art was making money, I would die.
Well, there's like an Alpha Centauri line, or the game Alpha Centauri
Yes.
used quotes from characters in game to contextualize new technologies and new like buildings you could make. It was a civilization game, and one of them is the religious faction leader saying something like, you know, the Morganites, who are the commercial faction or the capitalist faction, can't understand this because a trader cannot imagine a thing that is valueless.
Womp womp.
I mean, it's interesting, you know, referencing like tech bros or whatever, because of course, one of the biggest instances of that kind of stuff is, you know, open source software and things, right? That is stuff that's, you know, tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff, hundreds of thousands of man hours of work being done for, you know, no real financial benefit most of the time anyway.
Dude, the clout though.
Just for, well, yeah, it's just for something that, you know, people will find useful. And, you know, sometimes it leads to something, just in the same way that a really, really good knitted thing might lead to something, but that's not the intention.
And there's certainly something a bit more I want to say ideologically different about good open source software, in that it's I lost my thread. Sorry.
I admire its purity.
I was just thinking of another meme I saw,
Yeah.
which was, the I think it might be from XKCD, but it's, a tower of blocks held up by a tiny little block. in the
Oh
corner.
yeah, the
that is
But
XKCD.
it was all of Star Wars lore, and the tiny little block was a model kit that went on clearance in 1978,
yeah. Oh, that's so true.
and we could buy 400 of.
You.
All the glup shows.
Yeah, it's like, well, we need to make a bunch of these spaceships.
What's the cheapest kit we can buy?
Yeah,
Did I ever show you the image of the person who nailed exactly what plastic model was used for the A-wing?
yes, yeah, it was the F-14. It was
Yeah.
an F-14.
And an early F-14 because it still had the front pop-out canards.
Yeah.
I love that.
Also, I've been watching Andor with my friend Jaren and my brother.
Andor's so it's
Stomps.
For one, it's 3 seasons worth of television in the first season.
Which is
Oh,
amazing.
good.
It's
I'm like, is this really
I-
Star Wars?
I really want to know how they got that show made.
I cannot imagine, because like the problem with getting a Star Wars made is that there's so much fucking baggage with it.
Yeah,
Which is ironic because they really tried to tamp that down beforehand.
But it's exquisite.
yeah.
It's really excellent TV. And you should watch it.
I love how the prison colony is makes so many references to Metropolis.
Oh, I should be looking for that, because we're just we're like one more episode of that, I think.
The bridges that they used to transfer the work crews.
Yeah.
Oh my
that's from
god!
Metropolis.
Straight up.
That's so fucking hot.
Yeah, right?
Oh, the cuts. They go so
a
deep.
friend of mine pointed out that Cyril. Have you gotten to the point where Cyril has moved back in with his mother?
Oh yeah. He's like,
He has Clone Trooper action figures still in his room.
I didn't see those. Oh my god.
he's such a turd.
But
Yeah.
he has the Clone Trooper action figures in his room that are probably just actual Star Wars Clone Trooper action figures from
funny.
the real ones. But of course he does.
Of course
Because
they would
he's a
monetize
dorko.
that.
Yeah, but and of course he has those.
Yeah, he's such a tweezot. It's
He's a wonderful character.
oh yeah.
Yes.
There's so many like wonderful characters that are just his mom especially. It's just like she's the worst.
Well, I don't even think it's because it's banter. This is a thing they've been doing for decades. That kind of
She's so
antagonistic
passive-aggressive. Yeah.
relationship they have really reads to me as something that is how they play. At least that's my read on it. And it's not good and it's not healthy,
No, but it is.
but I think it's supposed to be that's how they relate to
No,
each other.
I think
All
you're
relationship.
I think you're exactly right, because that does show the kind of desire for connection, but the inability to actually make it.
Yeah.
So they've synthesized this form of love.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
all the
And
characters are like that.
Oh,
It's just-
that's actually a wonderful metaphor for the Empire at that point. Mm-hmm. That interwar period.
It's I also actually I love after I watched Andor, I rewatched Rogue One a little while ago, and it's awesome that the Andor's introduction in Rogue One, which is where he's from, is basically the same. Like he's going after he's in an alley and things go wrong.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
It's sort of very much mirrors the beginning of Andor. Yeah.
oh shit! Here we go
It's
again.
just really kind of wonderful. You point out what makes Andor different from a lot of the other series is we absolutely know what the ending of this is going to be.
Yeah.
Because it's been filmed. It's there.
Yeah. And I I love how it implies a bunch of things. That a bunch of just Imperial Mall cop equivalents were able to get there was a meeting for the shore troopers where they're like, okay, we call ourselves lifeguards now, but we can get $1 billion in surplus clone armor if we call ourselves shore troopers instead. And we just like, we can just call ourselves like, stormtroopers, and we'll get all this Imperial surplus shit. That's really cool.
Rex, you know how to operate the requisition typer, right?
Yeah, and just like the trooperization of every Imperial agency,
Yeah.
I don't know, amuses me. And what else? That Andor is absolutely coded as being force sensitive without being a force sensitive person.
Yes.
Right? Like he's intuitive. And he's got like really good like empathy and interpersonal skills. He's lucky. And you can tell that when what's his name gives him the Kyber crystal to just like hold on to it, and then later Andor's like, oh yeah, have this back. He's like, wait, are you fucking serious?
Absolutely not.
You didn't feel compelled to build something with this? Nothing?
Huh? No, I got my blaster. My blaster that is from Dark Forces.
Wait, really?
Apparently
Oh, wow.
so.
Rad.
Like, apparently the whole show is just full of, like, really great little references like that.
But like, I just like the idea that like he had the read on Andor as being force sensitive. He's like, this guy has got to be like something. So he gives him the Kyber crystal, and it's like he'll build a lightsaber with it, and come around.
It's like, nope.
Yeah, it's like, I looked this up. It sells for a lot of money. I'm kind of uncomfortable holding this.
Don't.
It's such a wonderful count. I really enjoyed the end of Last Jedi. The message that they're sending
Yeah.
at the end of that with the kid pulling the broom.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah,
But I also love that Andor has that counterpoint to it. That,
yeah. The force is for everybody, but not everyone also.
wants to be a
Yeah,
space wizard.
that not everyone needs to be.
I mean, in his case, it could just simply be, I don't want the extra attention. There's no F on here.
F.
It's the problem with these doubling up of sprues of the same name that it's, you can lose out your position.
Altitude too low, pull up. Altitude too low, pull up. Terrain, 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 terrain.
Taking me back to my A10 attack days.
I saw a great video that took the dogfight from the new Top Gun movie and put in accurate, like,
Oh man,
noises.
Ooh,
that's
okay.
It was kind of cool.
Because yeah, the
wanna see
stuff in Top Gun, the new movie, was rad.
I still haven't
Yeah.
seen it actually.
I mean,
I've heard it's exactly what you expect.
I read one review of it where you're like, this is kind of a sickening, piece of propaganda promoting the American military-industrial complex. It's got, like a bunch of hoorah characters, and everyone's very beautiful, and it tries to make everything look very, good and just, and you will absolutely hate yourself when you're like, yeah! When they drop the bombs right down the chute at the end, and you're like fist pumping as they blow away brown people.
Indistinct brown people.
Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. They never say they're brown.
Never.
At no point are these ever disclosed as Iranians.
Yeah. No logo. No symbols or emblems on anything.
Just
Yep.
the
No.
em-
Everyone wears
Yeah,
full
the
face
enemy.
covers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just watch Hot Shots after.
Ooh, and
So good.
While you're in the middle of it, I recommend, or before you start Top Gun, you should start it off with the recut of the opening theme song to Gundam 008 3 Stardust Memories, intercut with, made into an opening theme from footage from the Top Gun movie.
Well, like, I couldn't you just score Top Gun with the Macross Plus soundtrack.
You can absolutely
because, like, it's the same melody. Voices is the same melody as the Top Gun theme.
do that. Yep.
Do, 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 do. It's God, now I want to go watch Macross Plus.
It's been a while, actually.
Macross.
Tips Valkyrie.
Out. Tips Valkyrie.
Tips laser cannon. Gare walks respectfully.
God, stop it. I think one of these is mislabeled.
Oh, that might be the differences in molds then.
Well, because there's two parts labeled C26 and C25, and they're identical. And there's two identical C26s, and part C25 looks nothing like what it's calling for. So I guess I'm gonna have to Hail Mary on this one.
Good luck.
Also, it brings me no joy to inform you that The Hunt for Red October is still really good.
That's
Although, like, I love the temerity of any movie that opens with, like, one of those, green text being typed across the screen.
Chirons.
Yeah. And then it says, but none of what you are about to see, according to either government, actually occurred. And you're like, yes,
Well,
it's fiction.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it's like, but in the moment, right? Like, even by that point, you're sold, and you're like, oh, well, I bet none of this did really happen, did it? Which is not a coherent or meaningful thought.
And it's also one of those great things where it's like, wait a minute, did it happen?
Yeah, maybe
Both-
it did all really happen.
And
Double fake out.
and it's like, and very tellingly, both governments denied that it happened.
Yeah,
Which is exactly what they said they would do.
yeah. Did the events of the Hunt for Red October ever happen? No. Oh, they've denied it. Interesting.
Stop it.
Suspicious.
Oh God, it's what you're describing is just the current brouhaha around UFO briefings.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
That said, speaking, there's no segue there, folks. We're gonna take a short break here because it's that time of the hour. Don't go away because we'll be back with a bit more of Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry and Hobby Night in just a few. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry. We've got Cameron,
Huh?
Alex,
Hello.
and Paul on tech.
Hello.
And it's Hobby Night. We're hanging out, building some models. And we're just going to continue doing that. I'm working on my Sturm Tyrann.
Nice.
It's a big dinosaur. Arg. Alex has got his Luna Gans, Machine Krieger. And Cameron's putting together some team tactics.
Yeah, well, this was the free model a couple of months ago from Games Workshop. It's an Arbiter.
They give you freebies?
Yep. You can go in once a month and get a free model.
Oh man.
Watch
They'll be by the door in boxes, like red boxes.
Oh, just pick
see.
him up.
Yep.
They really are dispensing with like the subtlety and giving the first one free.
Yeah. But, they're usually something pretty cool.
I didn't realize I didn't have to talk to anyone to get them. That makes it so much more appealing.
Yeah, you can just go in and, I think it's usually encouraged to say hello to the guy instead of just, like, starting to shove them into your purse.
Hey, folks, did you know you can just go into a store and take things?
I mean, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Hit the bricks.
We do not. We do not condone the theft of physical goods here on Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry. Yeah.
Not
so
touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
I was just going to mention when we were on break here. I also recently rewatched a film.
Oh yeah. As you recall, it was a horror film.
No, I did afterwards. Space Camp doesn't hold up.
Well,
What the hell is
that's
Space Camp?
it's about a bunch of space camp nerds
Yep.
who
Who get
go to space.
accidentally.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
It's a cool concept for a kid who loves space.
Yeah.
And for a kid, it was probably good at the time. But Flight of the Navigator is the superior child space movie.
Yeah, okay.
I rewatched that the other day, or not the other day, but a couple months ago, after the amazing Captain Disillusion breakdown of the special effects in it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Captain Disillusion did this amazing 40-minute long analysis of the special effects in it, which is
It was a
because it was
groundbreaking film.
So it's back in the day before the special effects were just it's all CG, figure it out. Where they've got dozens of different models of different sizes and types that you use in different things. They're using split screens. They're using basically every technique in the book.
Every trick you can think of.
Because somebody decided that the spaceship would be chrome.
Yeah, reflect.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no! I hadn't even thought about
Compliance.
because it also it shapeshifts.
Now
Yeah.
that part is CG'd,
Okay.
or at least the front portion of it. But
I, as a sort of an afterthought, because I was a little distracted, the character of Annie 3000 from the Tovalo music video "No One Dies for Love," she's like a robot
hey,
that her entire outfit is chrome panels, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it must have been the biggest pain up everyone's ass to shoot and not get the cameras in shot.
Yeah. Or the lights.
yep.
But anyways, yeah, I simp really hard for.
There even actually people have been noticing on the Apple videos from the Worldwide Developer Conference this year. They're shooting them in such a high resolution and cutting in on people's faces so closely, and they're just so well done that you're now for the first time able to see these people reading the script off the teleprompter by reflections in their eyes.
I was just kind of amusing myself by thinking what Steve Jobs would have done to someone who put that headset on his desk.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree.
You mean
Yeah.
it would be just like the scene in Blade Runner with Roy and Sebastian?
Yeah. Yeah.
Splorge.
Can you imagine presenting that to Steve Jobs and him just looking at you?
He does the downfall glasses taking off thing.
I think he just cats it.
Yeah. Pushes it off the desk.
But jumping back though,
But sorry, just one more
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
about the Apple computer hat. I looked at it and realized this is the only way any of us are going to get to work from home. Mandatory Apple computer hat.
Yep. I wanted a good VR headset for my my driving games, and this isn't going to be it. Yeah. But yeah, quickly jumping back, I did get to see when I was a child. Our family took a trip down to MGM Studios, the Disney park when it still existed, and they had a tour of the back lot there, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking about. Is that the... Wait, is this different from the Universal Studios ride?
Yes, this is different from that because
Oh,
this
okay.
is literally an actual backlot.
Oh, okay.
Backlot stuff. So there was the Golden Girls home back there.
Neat.
But I got to see the ship from Flight of the Navigator sitting tilted on its side, hole in the bottom. It was the saddest thing.
Oh no!
Because they built a life-size chrome model of it.
But it only worked from one angle because the giant rig to hold it up. had
Yes,
to be-
exactly.
yeah. So it had a big hole in the side. Yeah. But anyway, I highly recommend that Captain Disillusion video, and also Flight of the Navigator is a great movie.
Yeah, it's been a dog's age since I watched it.
It used to be on Disney.
It's on Disney Plus.
Wide World of Disney. What was the Sunday evening Disney show?
The Magical World of Disney.
Right. It was on that all the time.
I remember that because that was our family viewing.
I remember also the schoolyard rumor or truism. This might even be true that, Touchstone and Disney were they made the same films, but the Touchstone one would have swearing in it. So you had to look for the Touchstone one. That was that was the truism around my elementary school.
That sounds right.
That's very silly. Okay, this is intriguing. So this part of the instructions calls quite specifically for a little bent piece of this 1 millimeter wire, and I think that this is size as. And I have exactly the tools to do this.
Hey, bendy.
So
So you bend it at the plans. Neat.
so let's hope that I don't ass this up too hard.
Oh, that's what those are for.
What, these?
Yes. I thought those were
Ring
Yeah,
closers?
it's
No,
yeah,
these are
clip removers.
no, these are jewelry
Ah.
pliers for doing bends exactly like this.
I need a pair of those.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, I also need a pair of clip removers, but
Okay, that's not a bad bend.
It's interesting that they supply it straight and then tell you to bend it.
Because the machine process to like supply pre-bent wire would be a pain in the
a
ass.
separate machine.
If you've ever, although it's a very cool machine, if you've ever seen
Oh yeah,
the ones.
wire
that-
benders are fantastic.
I think my wire bender might be bent.
I don't know.
I
You're
bent my bender.
Oh my god, I literally did. It's bent. Not from this, but from probably some other like irresponsible bending.
Do you have to like alter the go back and forth so you're not bending on the same axis or on the same
I don't think so. Does anybody have a Sharpie?
Plane? No, not I. I see one in there.
Yeah, I just need a way to make.
The black one. Here comes. It's stubby.
What'd you call me?
Go. There you go.
Thank you.
J3. Bingo.
So now you should be able to.
Shear that. Shear.
So they
that
just give you sort of
wire.
a long piece of brass rod at the right, and then tell you to bend it into like 3 different things.
Well, this is the first thing that I've encountered that it requires bending specifically, I think. And it's just like a little bracket, and I believe that I've done so successfully. If you would care to do a close-up, if that's possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You made a staple.
Yeah. So that's the.
I do like that it's just like that. It's actually like full real size in the.
That's actually
yeah.
very useful.
It's
So
just
I
like make
think
it look like this.
No, really. Make it look like that.
Let's get the Instacure.
I'm enjoying the little grabby hands my guy has. No!
Are you okay?
Everything's fine. That feel when the graphite pointer falls over, but you realize you have emptied it.
Oh, good.
Oh, I see. He's just got little grabby hands.
It's little tiny grippers. 3 claws per hand. But sharp. This would not be allowed. This would not be allowed to be given to children in North America, that's for sure.
It's just.
Due to the sharpness of the claws.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure there's a regulation that would say this is not for children under, I want to say 12.
Check this out.
Oh,
So
dang, that looks good.
Yeah, it's like little simple parts. Sometimes just make all the difference. And you can get this like brass stock rod from most hobby stores, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And something that thin in plastic you just wouldn't hold.
Yeah, and again, I think also you just wouldn't really be able to bend it as easily. Like you could maybe do it, but like the control required to get that specific bend
Well,
Like-
I guess I was just thinking like it could be part of the mold if it was in,
Yeah.
in plastic, but I guess it'd be too fragile.
Having thin parts like this made out of something stronger, like brass, is just a good idea.
Yeah.
It prevents them from being too flimsy.
And would that be intended to be brass on the final, like not
It
painted?
depends. I think most of the time they get painted. Like there's a lot of that's what photo etch parts are. Like they're super thin brass that has been photographically cut to extremely detailed sort of specifications.
It's a cool process.
Yeah.
I think I was going to mention last episode, but I didn't get it out, that they've made some real advances in brass etching these days.
I actually made a little bending break for Cameron a while ago
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
because it uses the same principle as bending sheet metal, just on a teeny tiny scale.
But they've stopped attaching them to the metal sprue, I guess, through the photo etch process. And
What?
yeah, because they'll use 2 layers of a weak adhesive in the plastic sheet. So you just peel the one off the top,
That's bananas.
and everything's still stuck in place.
Yeah, 'cause, like,
in between the metals.
I don't know if I'm stumbling out of some kind of model maker closet here, but the photo etch always gave me nightmares.
It should, because it's so. It's
Like it never worked.
Getting it out of its sprue is just
Yeah.
what do you cut it with?
Yeah.
I think
I always wanted to make photo etch look good, but also you would open the manual and it'd be like, well, you take it. And I remember I had a kit for a Henkel 219 when I was a teenager. And one photo etch piece was the face piece for the for an instrument panel. And then you would have other pieces of photo etch moving through it as the handles.
oh
Gosh.
god.
And the photo etch handles were wider than the grooves in the photo etch face plate. And I was like, well, this just doesn't work.
Figure it out. You gotta
This
widen it
just-
yourself, homie.
This just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it explicitly showed you like bending, the instruments or the handles into a U shape and then fitting them through the back of it. But they weren't wide. Like
How do you?
you just lied to me.
There was I think there was one of the kits that I keep sort of poking away at, the prime mover. I think it might have a full gear shift assembly that has like a flat piece of photo etch with like the gear like slots and then the levers themselves.
Yeah.
It's
So,
you ever seen the guys who go super hardcore on just the cockpits?
Yes.
oh yeah.
Like they'll do pieces of like paper soaked in CA glue and
Yep.
like put down a little tiny like 6-point strap.
Yep. Or use masking tape for it.
Oh, that's a
Because
great
like
idea.
masking tape has a bit of texture to it.
Yeah, and you can paint it too.
Yeah, and it will it will settle correctly.
I'm so glad to hear you say that about photo etch now, Cam, because I know I've told this story on the show before, but I don't think I've told you. When I was doing the finishing touches on the Nightingale and adding some of its photo etch parts, I was dry fitting a few of them, and there are these large disc shapes that go over the edges of the hip joints.
Okay.
I just thought, put it on there, and it looked terrible. And I thought, and honestly,
Did you have to like bend them
Well,
around a surface?
I kind of had to bend it back,
Right.
But I heard absolutely in your voice in my head, "Why'd you just glue these metal pieces to your model, dude? This looks like shit."
There is
Happy
a
to
tiny
serve.
there's a tiny
It was
Cameron
helpful.
inside all of us.
Hey.
Yeah, like it's really difficult, and there's no way around it. The one thing that I'm glad that I'll fuck with photo etch a little bit, but the one that I don't think I will ever touch is like tall ship rigging.
Oh God, no!
I had an uncle who spent decades working on a model of HMS Victory.
Yup.
It was amazing. Like he
Sounds
had
about right.
like he had scale copper strips to line below the water line, and like he got
Oh my god! Right, the rust proof or the corrosion proof
the barnacle proofing.
or whatever it is. Oh man, that's
the pitch, essentially.
Yeah. And as far as I know, he never finished it
Oh.
because he got Parkinson's.
oh.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, if there's anyone out there over the age of 50, get your shingles vaccine.
Yeah, it's free
Is it? Okay,
And
so
apparently it's also a bulwark against...
against Alzheimer's.
yes.
is it?
Yes.
Yeah. There was a paper published that apparently there's a strong correlation. But then again, it might just be a thing where it's like, well, people who get their vaccines
Are smart.
or something, right? Like, there's a correlation at least.
Okay.
That said, it's a free vaccine, and you won't get shingles.
Yeah,
which
and
is
you,
also
you don't want shingles. I've never had them, but I've heard they're horrendous. It's funny because like the I was actually at the doctor today for something unrelated, but there was like a poster, and there's this picture of this like kind of distraught looking woman, and the caption is like "Shingles doesn't care." It's just really good.
Yeah. Wow. Shingles doesn't give a shit about you.
Shingles doesn't give an ass. But yeah, it's like if you've ever had chicken pox, you're at risk.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty much everyone in our generation,
Yeah,
thanks to
sucks.
chickenpox
I have
parties.
chickenpox scars actually.
I never had chickenpox.
Lucky.
Oh, no, that's actually the opposite.
Wait, is it?
Well, now it can kill me as an
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, if you don't get it,
sorry. Oh, I mean, this is Cameron like being gibbed by the tidal wave.
adult. Yeah, exactly.
Water.
Yeah. I'll wind up being taken out by a children's disease.
Your last words are like, "How appropriate."
Would you rather fight 8 children with chickenpox or
One chicken pox with 8 children.
children? Cool.
16 and 17.
All right, I think I got time for one more of these, whatever these are. Shoulders? I don't know. It's good that I've got the time for it because I have to build 2 of them in total.
Oh, these are both 17.
Oops.
Oops.
I don't believe there's a chickenpox vaccine. Or is there?
I have no idea.
Has that changed?
Yeah, like I think me and my brother both got chickenpox around the same time.
Yeah, I believe there is one now. It's part of the. I believe it's part of the
Standard flight. That's standard.
the stuff that kids get now.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
because
good.
it kind of sucks.
You know, I think I spotted this recently. There's a woman stepping onto the bus, and I recognized what I think was a polio vaccination scar, which is like almost a throwback at this point, because like my mom has one.
Yeah, my parents have them.
Yeah, what was so gnarly about that? It's like, did they just have like like a tube of copper like
It
with
might
like
have been
putty
the
in it?
first like industrially produced and distributed vaccine.
Yeah,
Like I remember
but it was real effective. It wiped out polio.
Because polio was a thing people lived in terror of.
Yep.
well, and that was also around the time of the sheer amounts of, well, soldiers go through huge amounts of vaccination anyway. But I remember at that time they were using more the needleless injectors as well.
okay.
Oh, okay.
And that might be it.
They would like dual wield them. I remember because there was this like There's a comic that made a joke about it because like soldiers they'll like walk up and the two doctors will like stick them in either arm.
Yeah, I've heard that there's like a vaccination day in most armies where you just like wind up like doubling the internal volume of your body
Yeah.
and the amount of shots
But
you get.
the comic was about this little kid who's like 6 years old who accidentally gets drafted into the military,
Okay.
and people just keep like gainsaying him when he tries to protest.
Right.
And he ends up like in basic training, and like he's in the line, and they're like injecting people, and then they get to him, and he's too short, and they inject each other in their arms. It's very funny.
TB is also a scar. Oh, thank God they caught that woman in Washington.
What?
There's a woman in Washington who has tuberculosis, who has been evading an arrest order for over 2 years now.
Scream.
Because she has an active case of TB for 2 years and potentially is spreading it.
That makes me very upset.
Yeah.
Typhoid Mary.
I don't care for that.
No,
You fuck.
don't do that. Holy.
It's like, sorry, you're a public health risk. And like, isn't it extremely treatable now?
Yes. I mean, it's, well, if you catch it early, it's the most easily treated then.
So fucking irresponsible.
I mean, it was probably one of those guys who lives for people to get mad at them online, but somebody was tweeting about how they wouldn't, if they got rabies, you know, a lot of people don't actually exhibit any symptoms, and if they do, then they'll just get the shot. And it's like, homie.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
If you have symptoms, you're dead.
Yeah.
You are
and
dead.
It's like one of the worst ways to die ever.
Yep.
I love the story about the people who were working on the rabies vaccine and trying to like pipette foam from a dog's mouth and just having a revolver around.
For the
Like-
dog, right?
For the dog, right?
Eventually.
God.
That's... yeah, rabies is no fucking joke. I mean, it's fortunately very rare, and like, even if you do get it, like, you have time to get the vaccine.
But
Like, don't
but
wait.
Do
but-
get the vaccine. Yeah. That's the key.
Rabies was like the first vaccine, wasn't it? I thought.
No, I thought it was
smallpox.
Smallpox.
smallpox. Yeah, because
Oh, okay.
it's the story was that like
Oh, right, the
she,
cowpox.
she found out
Yeah.
that was it like
Milkmaids.
milkmaids who worked around cows
Yep. Who
didn't get it.
Right,
yeah,
right,
they,
yeah,
they,
yeah.
they had scarring from cowpox, but didn't get smallpox.
Just like, huh, lucky.
Right. Rabies was Pasteur.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would need to look it up to be
Yeah.
sure, but
The also like the Typhoid Mary story is just so sad. It's actually kind of aggravating because she just like refused treatment over and over again and like wouldn't wash her goddamn hands. And just kept preparing food for people and they would all die. It's like, ah! Walking stabilizer.
It seems like that's an important thing to put on.
Yep.
I call that my tail. What?
Your giant mech gets way less impressive when it goes.
does it make a piggy squealing noise like ED209?
And I just rewatched that scene.
So fucking good.
It's a very good movie. Have you seen our RoboCop remake?
No.
Okay, so when the new when the remake, like the 2014 remake, I think, was
sounds right.
announced, a whole bunch of creators from Channel 101 basically adopted the slogan, "If anybody's gonna ruin RoboCop,
It'll
it should
be
be
us.
us."
Right.
And they remade the entire movie, handing
like,
one
open
scene
source-
to
yeah.
one scene to each creator.
Yeah. And I heard that they actually handed out like the dick shooting clip to like 50 people.
No, it was to Fatal Farm, and it's hilarious.
Because it just goes on for like 20
It goes
minutes.
on and on and on. There's so much dick shooting.
Wow.
Awesome.
It's exquisite.
All right. Well, that's having someone get their dick shot off is a much happier way to end the stream, I would say, than talking about the Typhoid Mary story. So That's where I think we're going to call this particular episode of Tinker, Tailor, Soldier Fry. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here live. And if you're watching on YouTube, hey, hi, YouTube. Check us out over at loadingreadyrun.com/live to find out when we're streaming all our other stuff. Check out youtube.com/loadingreadyrun, loadingready live for video game content, LRRMTG for Magic the Gathering, LRRVG for video game stuff, and LRRTT for our tabletop things. Once again, thanks again for watching, and we will see you in a fortnight, never in Fortnite, ever forward, learning out of spite.
Yeah.
That rhymes too much. Good night.